Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? My name is Jawan Rohan with the Misguided Podcast, where we intend to guide you to a better future. I'm sitting here with Sean Herrero of Cross Country Mortgage, and I'm excited to talk to you. You're the first lender I've ever had on this podcast, and I've done like maybe 200 episodes. So
Dude,
it's
damn,
good.
I'm stoked to be here. Hell yeah, that's great.
I'm happy to have you here. The reason I have him here is because we recently closed on a deal together, a VA deal that was super interesting. I'm excited to talk about that, but I'm also excited to just talk about kind of the state of the economy and the lending world, and how it might be similar or different to 2008, and just everything, man. I'm excited. Thank you for being here,
dude. I'm stoked to be here. And Misguided Podcast, we talk about all these misconceptions because there's a lot of them right now that I think with the internet and social media being what it is, it's so easy to get distracted and just in 15-second video make a belief.
That's
may be
true.
Wrong,
Yeah,
so
make a belief.
To do this. Yeah,
I like that, and it's funny to see. Not funny. It's there's irony in seeing a lot of like TikTok gurus actually go to jail recently. If you've been hearing, there's been like a bunch of scamming that happened during COVID, just with like TikTok videos, and so now you just like Google it. You'll like see like a bunch of young kids who like did really well on TikTok, and then now it just kind of promoted the wrong information, and then got into like some stuff. And I just want like transparency in all of it. You know what I mean? And that's why I think these like conversations are very crucial. I mean, we can sit up here and talk success all day, right? But there's failures and how to get there. And so I think that's super important. But yeah, I like to really start the podcast with how I was kind of introduced to you, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, at that workshop we did.
Yeah. So that was the first time I ever heard about you. I did see Sean on social media, and I think it was through ads. I think it was like, because you know how social media works. If I follow like Ryan from Twin Oaks, like a ad might come from you, right? And that, so I think I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I saw you in the red shirt, and then I just kept seeing it. And then when they said that you were gonna do a speaking engagement for our brokerage, I was like, oh, let me go tap in. And it was at Dave & Buster's, which I didn't even know they had a conference room.
No, that was the first one I'd done too. And I was like, oh, you guys do big meetings here?
Yeah, so it's nice though.
Yeah, it was a good spot. Kids can go play.
What I really liked about the conversation and the presentation you did was you kind of presented two options. It was at a time when interest rates were like, they just went from low to super high. So it was like everyone was shocked. Realtors are like, what do we do? Lenders are like, how do we, manage? And then home buyers were freaked out. Like that was a crucial time when you did that presentation. What I liked was you provided two options. And instead of saying you should do this option, you said, here's the two options, do what's better for you.
Dude, that's what it should always be, is do what's best for you.
Yeah. And
doesn't matter what your friend's doing. Like if it's not the right time for you, it's not the right time for you. I just want to make sure you make that decision based on real information. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of what's missing in our world right now is, with all the videos that real estate agents and lenders are putting out on social media, these little short clips, it looks like, oh, another realtor just telling me to buy a house and then get paid. Another lender telling me to buy a house and get paid. It's like, dude, I really don't care if you buy a house. I just want you to buy it if it's right for you. And I don't want you to buy, like, take this information and go, damn, what that guy just said, I have no desire to buy a house. Cool. Yeah. That's the right answer then. Yeah. For you, not for everyone.
I 100% agree. Like there's even some people that like of my clients, I'll just tell like, I don't think this home is right for you. Like I don't survive off of your business. Like I try and do other hustles on the side, right? But your business isn't like my primarily focus. Like I just love helping clients, to be honest. And I love the networks in this business. Like I've been recently focused on kind of networking with other realtors, which is kind of, I'm noticing other realtors don't like that. No. Like they think I'm competition. And I'm like, we can work together. There's a thing called a referral fee from California brokerage, like, or, the NAR, like it's a form. We can work together. And a lot of people just don't want to do that. Like example, yesterday, I reached out to 15 realtors just to be like, hey, do you have any off-market properties? I know of some. I'd love to, share information. I have buyers, you have buyers. Maybe they're not getting the same information. Why not? Let's put it on the table for them to see and they decide. But because we connected them, we both get a commission.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And 3 responded out of 15.
There's a big scarcity mindset right now. And I think even in 2020, 2021, when real estate was, well, I'm just going to say it was easy, people still had a scarcity mindset, right? Yeah. And I think it's somewhat, I don't know where that comes from. I feel like it's changing a little bit, but I feel like when people act the way you act, and it's, hey, we could do this together, we can help more people together, more comes your way as a result of having that mindset of like, there's enough to go around. Yeah. It's the people who live in that scarcity of, oh, I'm not going to give up a referral fee on this thing. I have an off market. So think of the disservice that is to their client, right? Mm-hmm. You have an off market property as a listing agent. Mm-hmm. I'm the seller. Hey, I don't want to deal with people going through my house. Like, let's just do it off market. Cool. Mm-hmm. Here's a guy reaching out saying, hey, can we help each other? And I'm not going to give you the information.
Huge disservice. Yeah.
Like, what if his client knew he did that?
I literally said, that's crazy. Cause I think I said that to one of them who were like, no, I don't do that. And I was like, why not? Like, why does your client know that? Like, because you're supposed to give them as many opportunities as possible. And I have active buyers who are cash buyers who can close in 7 to 10 days. And that's huge for someone who's in a desperate need to sell, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's all about connections, and I'm learning that more being in this business longer. I've been in this business for 3 years, so not that much. Each year has been a learning period for sure. And it's different. But I think I'm finally finding my footing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, 3 deals this month, that's my biggest by far. And so I'm learning, and there's a lot of mistakes I've made. There's mistakes I'm making along the way as far as managing a business and trying to make sure that there's no holes in it, right? And I mean that by like, it's not just the realtor side, but it's the management of what am I doing to make sure there's not peaks and valleys. Yep. Right.
And I think there'll always be peaks and valleys, especially when you're willing to try new things like you're doing. Yeah. Right. Because you're going to try something, it's not going to work.
For sure.
But what if I hadn't checked that box? Yeah. You know, okay, cool. Now I know this doesn't work. Yeah. Maybe it doesn't work right now. Maybe it'll work later. But I won't have this question in my mind of, man, would that have helped someone? You know? Yeah. Would I have helped, like us being in marketing? Like, could I have helped more people, which in turn helps ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just not going to try it. Won't find out. Yeah. And I just think that's a bad way to go. So the peaks and valleys lead to where you don't have the peaks, or maybe they're narrower, you know,
more risk, more reward, essentially.
Yeah. Smart risk. Like
very
smart
true.
Risk. Yeah.
Very true. I want the audience to know kind of the background of your story. I think even like it's important to know like who you're working with, mm-hmm. right? And so the potential audience here that might want to work with you, especially in the VA world, it's important to know who you are, where you came from. So let's go ahead and get into that story. Where is Sean from?
Yeah. So I'm Bay Area native. I grew up out here. I've been in mortgage for 22 years now. The first 15 years, I was kind of behind the scenes. Mortgage advisors were my clients. So I worked for a bank, and I would go to mortgage advisor and say, hey, use our bank versus someone else's bank. And that's how I would get paid, right? And so to help myself, I've always had like a marketing mindset and a solutions mindset for people. So I'd be like, hey, I have an idea. Try these ideas and let's see if you can help more people. And I just got to this point where I realized how salesy the mortgage world was. And I didn't like it. You know, I'd talk to people and they'd tell me how they were selling this person on this or that. I'm like, yeah, but they don't need to be sold. You know, they just want to be served. And in 2017, I got to this point where I was like, you know what, screw this. If I don't think it's being done right, I'm going to go do it myself. You know, I'll put my money where my mouth is. So in 2017, I became a mortgage advisor, really with the goal to serve, not sell, to make sure people understand how a mortgage works so they can make the most educated decision possible. And as a kind of a byproduct, but a purposeful one, to call the mortgage industry out on its BS. You know, there's so much sales and gimmicks, and I want to help people call those out. The VA side of things came from me, just like you're doing, learning as you grow, right? Mm-hmm. And I was talking to some mortgage advisors years and years ago, and I would always hear how profitable VA loans were. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, why would a loan for a veteran or a military service member make you more money than another loan? Like, I don't understand. It seems like that would be the opposite, right? And what it was is, in my experience, a VA loan, the interest rate's about 0.5% lower in most cases than a conventional loan. So what they do is they'd say, okay, we'll just make the rate 0.25% lower or 1/8% lower, and then we can keep the difference in the profit, right? I was like, wait, you guys are screwing people over. And I'm like, that's not what it's designed for.
Yeah.
So now I don't like you guys anymore. And I'm gonna go do it myself and do it the right way. And then on the real estate side, there's just a level of ignorance about how VA loans work. And it's an old school mentality. And when I say ignorance, it just means a lack of understanding, you know, like I think that might actually be the definition of ignorance, is lack of understanding. And so what would happen with realtors is they'd say, oh, we won't take a VA loan. We don't want to look at a VA loan. It's like, well, why? It's like, oh, my client doesn't want them. How many homes has your client sold? 1, 2? Yeah. How do they know how a VA loan works? You don't like how it works, but you don't understand. So let me just walk you through it. And so my purpose with the VA side became, I'm going to help as many military service members and veterans get home as I possibly can by educating real estate agents, and then kind of making sure that when they, you know, if they compare lenders, how come Sean's better than them? You know, and just always make sure that's how it works. And then, like I'm doing right now, explain these things to the public. Yeah. So they can go, okay, cool. Whether I use Sean or not, like I feel like I'm empowered to make sure I get the best loan. Most definitely. I like to say the best deal. It's not the right word for it, but because a mortgage should be a plan. So it's not get the best deal, but it's get the best mortgage plan for myself.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that plan better than deal. Have you ever got backlash for kind of telling the truth on how they were making money?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. I love when it happens.
Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Because it reminds me of like the subprime. It was like, gimme, right? Or like, let's just push the loan through and I'll take the more profit, the profitable loan, even though it's not right for the client. Right. So that's very interesting. So Bay Area, what city?
So I was born in Mountain View. Grew up in Milpitas till I was like middle school, and then we moved up to Pleasanton. Nice. I graduated high school from Pleasanton.
Nice. Are you still out in Pleasanton or no?
I'm in Danville now. Same thing. Went up the freeway a little bit.
Yeah. That's what's up. Everybody wants to get there. Speaking of real estate, it's super hard to find any type of deal there right now.
Dude, we got lucky on ours. Like, well, I'm gonna say we got lucky because we bought our house in 2021, and everyone. I mean, I see everyone's finances, right? That's every day I'm looking at people's income. Yeah. And we're always saying, man, it's crazy how expensive everything is anywhere in the Bay Area at this point. Yeah. And I thought, you know, we had sold a house. We were hanging out because we wanted to move to Orange County. Like I wanted to be in like the East Bay by the ocean, right? So we were going to move to like Dana Point, San Clemente. And the closer we got to that date we had set, my wife's like, no. Like I could just feel she wasn't going to do it. And that's in 2020. Home prices are just going up like crazy. And I was like, look, if we're not going, like, we got to buy a house sooner than later. Yeah. And I just looked, I can't afford to live here. Yeah. And then this one house came up and it backs up to, you know, she shows me the picture of it and it backed up to her cousin's house. And then we have kids that are the same age. Wow. And I was like, oh, that's Tyler and Ashley's house. And then it had chickens, it had a pool, it had a pizza oven. Wow. Like outside, which is all I care about, it had everything I'd want. Yeah. And the inside was set up because I have a 20-year-old son, a 15-year-old son, and then we had a little guy too. He's 6 right now. Okay. And that layout of the house was perfect. And I was like, if we don't get this house, we can't live here anymore. I just can't afford it. Yeah. We like put everything into it instead of doing a.
Do you do your own loan?
I did do my own loan. Yeah.
Is that regular? Is that regulated by any? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So my name, I can't represent myself. My company did it. So I did it through the company. But I kind of knew how I was going to set it up.
You just send your prepared file to them and underwriters, and then they sign off on it for the final.
Like I filled out an online loan application. I uploaded my documents just like everyone else would. I just knew how I was going to structure it. So I just told them what to do.
Any discounts for doing it as a lender? No. Dang. I mean, I guess we don't get any though.
Yeah, that's the misconception about it's when we look at lending these days, everyone always starts with what's the rate, what are the fees? Right? Yeah. That's what you're supposed to ask a lender. And that is 100% what you should have asked back in like 2004, 2005. Yeah. Because lenders could get paid more money for selling you a higher interest rate and they could charge you more in fees. Yeah. But I get paid the same regardless of, I don't care what loan program you pick, what interest rate you pick. None of that matters anymore. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, do you get a discount? No. I had to pay the same as everyone else. Yeah. And I think it should be that way. You know why? Just because of my job title, I get something better? It doesn't make any sense.
No, that makes sense. That's interesting. Well, I'm glad you found that perfect home. And that's like, how fast was the move?
So the house, the listing agent did an incredible job of marketing this place. I will say that. They put it up on coming soon in like December with an offer date in like mid-January. I think it was January 12th. And I'm like, man, these guys are smart because people are just going to see this. Everyone's kind of in holiday mode, just sitting around looking online in preparation for buying in the next year, right? I was like, man, these guys are smart. So many people are going to come through this place. And we did everything to get that house. I called the listing agent way in advance and I was like, look, I'm going to do the loan. We're going to close in 2 weeks. I'm telling you right now, it'll be non-contingent. Like, I don't need to, I'm going to show you my cards because I know there's going to be 20 other people on this. You're
like, I'm the buyer and I'm the lender.
Yep.
And
and here's what what the offer is going to look like 3 weeks before the offer date.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to build rapport with her, right? And make sure she knew that I knew what I was doing and all those things. And then you know how you write what do they call them? Love letters that you put in your offers?
Yeah. The buyer letters.
I made a video.
Oh, that's actually smart. I like
Dude,
that.
everyone should do that.
You make a lot of, you know what? I actually want to get to that. That is amazing because one of the things I actually called you out on in a good way was like, dude, you keep sending my clients videos. Yeah. Every time you update them, it's like a video. Yeah. And I'm like super happy to watch it. And it's like, wow, because when you're looking at it on paper, the client could be confused. And I'll talk about the client we just closed with. She was confused on closing day about one thing. And I was just like, the videos help you understand. And it's also a great way to connect. And I was like, man, I wish every lender could do that. I even called you. Remember that? Yeah. I was like, this is awesome.
And that's the thing is, so I always tell people what I do for a living is 4th grade math and psychology. Yeah. Right. I'm not a doctor. I'm not doing brain surgery. I'm here to help people figure out their best solutions. Right. And at my industry, a lot of people try to make their job fancier than it is. Yeah. And it's like, well, if you put yourself up on a pedestal, then people are going to feel intimidated, right? I don't want anyone to feel intimidated to ask me a question. Like, I don't want someone to say, oh, I'm going to sound stupid if I ask this question. And I do this hundreds of times a year, and they're going to do it maybe once, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, I need to make this as simple for them to understand as possible and really have them feel open to asking me anything, right? I want people to ask a lot of questions. Yeah. So with the videos, if I think of, you get a loan estimate, which is a government uniform form, right? It shows you all the numbers and it's in charts, but what does it mean to me? Yeah. So with the system I use, I call those buyer's guides, right? We build personalized websites for every client. It's an easier way for them to see the numbers. We can update it on the fly so they can because it's not like, okay, I want to buy a house for $500,000. I'm going to put 5% down. What if it's 505, 507, 525? The numbers shift and change, right? So I want them to know what that looks like. And then I want to record a video to explain it so that they don't have to guess at what it means. Yeah. And then I always send it to you, to the realtor as well, because I want the realtor to understand, right? The buyer, the realtor, and the lender, we're all in this together. We're the team. Yeah. And so, everyone's like, how do you have time to do that? I'm like, how do I have time not to? Yeah. It's the right thing to do in my opinion.
Time comes from your mobile office, which I can't wait to like give a tour. Yeah. It's you want to talk about it a little bit about your mobile office? What made you create that?
Yeah. So this is my second one. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So I became a mortgage advisor in 2017. I wanted to call my industry out on how it works. And I've always looked at things as, why can't I? Like, why can't I do it this way? Yeah. And I remember one day...
You need a shirt like that.
Or I should do that, right?
Actually, yeah. I'm trademarking.
That's a good idea. It's all yours. It's recorded. It's all yours. Time-stamped. So I remember there was one day I was driving to the office because for me to do a pre-approval letter, I can do it faster if I have 2 screens, right? And somebody needed one late at night, and I was like, okay, I could do this on my laptop. It'll take me longer. So I'm just going to jam to the office. And I was like, man, it's like family time. Like, why am I running out right now? I need to have 2 monitors. I'm just like, there's got to be a USB like portable second. Go on Amazon. Okay, cool. I just solved that problem. And then my son showed me a video of this girl working on her laptop, and her view was like the mountains or something, or the ocean, and it just was so cool. This is like the van thing hadn't really taken off yet. It's still like relatively new back then. And I was like, damn, I can make an office out of that. And I was like, how do I get the Wi-Fi to work? And I was like, okay, you just need a hotspot. Like, research that. I'm like, the only thing I need is a computer and Wi-Fi, really. I could work from any coffee shop, right? And I was like, this is more secure because I'm not on a public Wi-Fi network, right? And I can go do it with cool views and not have interruptions and kind of give myself freedom. So I pitched the company I was working at the time. I was like, hey, he wanted all of his offices to be ground level, good signage. He He had a budget that he would do to do like tenant improvements to fix it up.
Don't tell me he bought you the first van.
So I pitched him on it, and I go, hey, I found an office. It's ground level. It's only like $500 a month for the lease. Yeah. It's got a mobile billboard campaign and a social media campaign with it. And I was like, it'll fit 2 to 3 people.
He was like, this sounds amazing.
Yeah,
He didn't know what it was.
Yeah. He's like, where is? And I've known that dude forever. So I kind of knew he's like, I'd pique his curiosity, and he's like, well, where is it? And I sent him a picture of a Sprinter van, and he didn't reply. And I go, dude, what's up? And he's like, no one's going to want to get a mortgage from your raper van. Yeah. And I was like, they wouldn't get in it. Like, this is just for me. I was like, this will be cool. We can wrap it. I drive 30,000 miles a year. I was back and forth to Silicon Valley back then. And I was like, this will be cool. And he's like, if you leave this company, I don't want to be stuck with a van. And I was like, okay, fair. I'll buy the van. And he's like, you buy the van, I'll give you the money to fix it up. And he used to spend like $75,000 was like his max budget to do flooring, paint, this and that, artwork for a new office, right? And to build those vans isn't cheap. Like, I got a bid back then, and it was going to be like 50 or 60,000, not without plumbing, because everyone has sinks and stuff in them if you're living in them.
Wait, do you have plumbing in there?
No. Yeah, I didn't do, because I don't live in it, so I don't need it.
I was gonna.
But it was still like 50 to 60. And he's like, I'll give you 20,000. Like, I'll give you a $20,000 budget to build it out. You own the van. I've like minimized my risk if you take off. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went, bought the van in Pleasanton, and I remember signing the paperwork. And it's empty. It's a FedEx van back. Like, there's nothing in it. And I'm just like, man, am I about to be stuck with this FedEx van for like 5 years if this idea doesn't work? It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, I had to try, right? It could absolutely fail. Yeah. And I bought it, and I sent him a picture of it, and then he didn't reply and basically bailed. He didn't give me the budget. So I had to figure out I was like, well, I own this thing now. So I have to, and I still want to do it. Like,
wait, you're still working for him?
I was working there still, and he just was like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I was like, you motherfucker.
Why?
I don't know. I kind of had a feeling he would do that, to be honest. So I was like, okay. And I kind of started a new career, right? I'd done something else for 15 years, just become a mortgage advisor. So, starting over, right? There's no salary in my world or anything like that. And I was like, I'm going to make this work. And there wasn't the resources that there are now. And I'm just like figuring out how to build an office out of this thing that I have. And it was fun to learn. Like, it took I'm a better woodworker than I thought I was. Yeah. But it was fun. And dude, as soon as I did that, that's where the whole adventure lender brain came from, because I was all over the place, and people were like, are you the guy with the van? And I was like, it worked. Everything I told him it would be, it is what it was. Yeah. Right. And it just gives me the freedom to go do whatever. Like, today, it's such a beautiful day out, and I'm like, maybe I'll go work by the waterfront if it's not too windy. Yeah. After we're done.
You should, because they have a Halloween thing down there.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's actually happening in like an hour or so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's what's cool is I don't miss a beat. Like, I don't have to worry about sitting in traffic anymore. I can just work from wherever.
That's very true.
And it became like a cool marketing and branding thing.
So let's talk. Well, I want to talk about that as far as marketing, but that was the old van. What'd you do with it? Why'd you upgrade? Because this one doesn't have any branding on it.
No, so the branding wasn't as important. Like, I had my phone number and my Instagram handle and all that stuff on the old one, like fully wrapped. Okay. And it was just more of an eyesore than beneficial.
Were you not getting calls or business?
No.
Okay.
But I had to try, right? And so the wrap was probably $3,000 back then.
But even though I still like that, because it takes, even with marketing, it takes about 7 times till someone sees your face for you to get that sale. Mm-hmm. So even if you're just driving next to it, and especially in this traffic, they're going to look at it, but then they might see an ad on social media and be like, that guy looks familiar, but where? Yep. And then they might see something else, right? And it's like, I keep seeing this guy, which is how I met you. Yep. Right?
And that's what we want.
Yeah. So even that got you returns. You probably just don't know.
Well, it was more the social presence, I think, is what it was. Because I was really analyzing, okay, where's my business come from? Large majority of my business to this day is realtor referral. And so I'm like, okay, the interior of the van, me being able to work from anywhere. Sean, I need this loan approved right now. Cool, done. I'll just pull over, get it done, right? The freedom that it gave me, and then are you the van guy is kind of what it came out to from social more than like calls on the freeway. And I was just, when I bought the new one, I was like, I don't know if even to this day, I'm like, should I wrap it? Should I not wrap it? Yeah. And for me, it's just become more of a convenience to be able to work from somewhere. Yeah. So I try to 80-20 everything. 20% of our efforts lead to 80% of our results. So the wrap, I would put in the 80% of effort that didn't really lead. Maybe it led to a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah. I don't think you need to wrap it. I think you just maybe window decal or like the little magnet things that go on the door things. Like, I don't think you need too much.
But it's just, I don't like I don't know. I've just so far been cool with it being as it is. But yeah, just the freedom that it gives me.
Did you sell it?
So yeah, so that's what you asked.
Yeah.
So what happened is I didn't think this would be my daily driver, right? So I had a truck back then. My kids raced dirt bikes. So the van I had bought only had 2 seats. The front, the whole thing was truly a FedEx van, just 2 cloth front seats, nothing fancy about it. And I just loved driving it. It was like all I ever drove. And then I have 3 kids, right? So I needed a second row. So like when I get rid of this one, I have to have the second row because this is the only car I have. Like I don't own another car. That's the only car that I have. Yeah, that's all I own. So
that's smart though. I think that's smart.
You get used to driving.
You don't have a Mercedes, a BMW. Like that's smart. I like it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I think in our industry, there's this weird, like if you want to look successful, whether you're in real estate, mortgage, whatever, you get the Rolex, you get the BMW, the Mercedes. Yeah. You get the skinny suit. And it's like it's a Tesla now, right?
Yeah.
I saw something on that, like the new realtor starter
all the
kit.
clients have Teslas now. So
and the Tesla's a smart purchase. Like I was looking at that for my wife, and I was like, man, these things the monthly payment on the little one is super low. Yeah. And you're not paying for gas. I was like, man, it's a really good play. But I just remember seeing something like it was like the real estate agent starter kit, and I'm like, man. Like, why do material things have to define who we are? Yeah. And I just go the opposite. I'm like, I don't really care about material things. I care about life experience. I want to go have fun.
So this one that you have outside has 4 seats?
It's got, so the 2 buckets, and then it has the bench seat in the back. And then I just built everything else behind it.
I can't wait to see it. That's so cool. Because here's why. And I know it's important for the audience, but it's also important for me because I've literally for 2 years been looking to build a mobile office. I don't know if you know, but I'm a notary in Solano County. Okay. Number 1 notary in Solano County. Nice. Vallejo Prime, mobile notary, most reviewed. And so I've been looking for opportunities. I've even been applying for grants to kind of expand my business because 1, I want to have a mobile office. 2, I want to hire like transitioning people from high school to college who have flexible hours that I can make them part of the team.
That's a brilliant idea.
And so now we have a company van. Now we have a mobile office because one of the things that I get a lot of calls is, hey, how much do you charge for a notary? Okay, well, where am I driving to? Yeah. Well, what if I come to you? Would it be cheaper? Yeah, but I don't have an office. We can meet at a coffee shop, sure. Yeah. But if I can have that van, hey, the van's parked on this street, send my team, it's cheaper for the clients, which is better for the community, right? So totally. I've been literally looking for the last 2 years. I'm just like, I'm scared to make that first jump. I also don't have time to build it out because I'm focused on real estate and I don't want the peaks and valleys, right? So I don't have 100 hours to spend trying to learn woodworking. So I've just been like looking for something perfect. So I'm very excited, just personally to even see it.
No,
like,
that's
you know
awesome.
what I mean?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
So, it's interesting. But I did want to talk about how's your wife feel that like this is your car?
At first.
She was like,
at first, but she doesn't want to drive it, right? The funny thing about the vans is,
does she work from home? What does she work?
Yeah, she stays home with our kids.
Oh, okay.
So she, when it became my only car, I want to take it everywhere, right? So if we go up to Napa or something like that, I'm like, we're taking the van. Yeah. It's like, why? I'm like, because we can have a picnic, like we do whatever we want in here, open, right? Yeah. And you can work. It's fun, man. And so I love it. But sometimes I'll get that insecurity of like, you got this big giant van, pull it to my kid's school and everyone else is in their regular cars. And here comes this guy in this giant van. But I don't know, but I just don't care. Like you get to this point where it's like,
dad soccer van.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't care. It's fun. It's very purposeful for like my lifestyle.
Have you always been like an adventurer? Like, yeah. Did you like climbing, hiking and stuff?
Yeah. So growing up, it was like, camping, fishing, hunting, stuff like that. And then
you play any sports?
I played, not really, like soccer.
I mean, you look like built, thanks, like, dude. I don't know if you got into the gym recently, but
So I don't like gym. I'm everything for me is outside, but I started rock climbing when I was 19. Okay. And that's probably like it gave me a reason to want to do push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups because I wanted to get stronger at climbing.
Also, if you're going to do VA loans, you got to look the part.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
Do people ever be like, well, why am I going to take advice from someone who was never a veteran?
No, because I don't think because a VA loan has nothing to do
with being
with military service, right? It's a benefit. It's like
I don't know if they see it that way. You know what I mean?
I think there's definitely, so with the amount of people I've helped, I have a lot of friends that are in the military now, and I love surrounding myself with people. Like the mindset is big, right? Mm-hmm. And so the more you learn, there is a disconnect between like civilians, people who haven't served, and those who have, because of what they, if you were in the military in the last 20 years, you've seen war, right? And so their life experience is very different than ours, to where I think there's a level of like, maybe we don't relate. Like I had a realtor reach out to me one time. He had a property that wasn't selling, and he's like, "Hey man, this might be the perfect house for a vet." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, it's kind of in a rougher area." And I'm like, "So just because they've been shot at before, you think they want to get shot at now?"
Yeah.
Like, they're probably trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
But that's like I'm like, why would you even say that?
That's
like
crazy.
Just because they were in the military, you think they want to live in a rough neighborhood?
Yeah.
Like that was a weird thing to say, in my opinion. But
that's totally against the code of ethics.
But again, that's the misunderstanding, right? Yeah. It's like, it's just, there's a disconnect, and I'm really trying hard to like fill that disconnect. And because even coming out of the military, like your life is so structured. Every day you're told what you're doing. You wear the same thing, right? And then you get out, and it's like, well, now what? Mm-hmm. And I think, and I didn't see that until I started helping these guys a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, that's so you it's just a different level once you figure that out. But anyways, as far as sports and stuff, so yeah, I've always I got into rock climbing. I was in Yosemite almost every weekend doing those things. Then a friend of mine was a big spear fisherman and like free diver, and I was like, what's that like? So I asked him to take me out, and I got really into that. And I just like those two sports the most, because I think in life these days, well, even just for me, I guess it's hard for me to be present. Like I'm always thinking about work. There's a client that needs help, this or that. Could this go wrong? My mind's just always going. But when you're climbing, you can't think about anything else. Yeah. You're just in that moment.
Don't fall.
Yeah. Well, just make sure that your hand hits this right. Make sure your foot hits that thing right. And there is that level of fear, right? Yeah. So where it's like, you're not going to die. I'm roped up. But your brain still is saying, don't fall.
Don't fail.
Yeah.
Don't fail.
And with freediving, when you're holding your breath, a minute's a long time. So it helped me with time management, learning how to freedive, because I'd be underwater and, look at my watch to see how long I've been under. I'm like, and I don't really ever push past a minute. But I'm like, man, I feel like I've been out here forever, and it's only been 1 minute, So it like reframed how my brain works to be like, man, you can do a lot. 24 hours is a really, really long time.
Yeah.
We can get a lot done in a small amount of time if you realize how long 1 minute is.
What's your typical day look like? Like, what time are you waking up? Oh, I already know what time you wake up, because you blast me with emails. You're up for sure early. But tell me about your schedule.
So I try to get up around 4:30, but it's not because the internet says you're supposed to do these things.
No, yeah.
I just always been an early riser. I didn't spend the night at people's houses in high school, because I'd wake up at 5 and be laying on their floor until like 10 or 11 when everyone else woke up.
Yeah.
So I've always been an early guy. So I'll get up at 4. And for my business, I love the 4 starting early, because there's no interruptions, right? Yeah. So if I need to focus on someone's qualifications, I'll do all my pre-approvals early.
Do you wake up and immediately get straight to work, or do you do any?
I do, depending. So I try not to.
Me too.
Depends on the day.
But then there's days where I'm like, I just want to do this.
Yep.
I get up and I'm like, work.
Yep.
Because I want to.
Yep.
It's not because social media says I should meditate for 5 minutes.
You enjoy it though.
Yeah, I enjoy waking up, getting straight to work, and I enjoy working. And then by noon, I'm done, and everyone just started working. Yep. And now I get to go take my walk. I get to do this podcast in the middle of the day on a Friday. It's 12 o'clock
the same exact way. That's it. And that's what people don't understand is, just because society says you're supposed to work from 9 to 5 doesn't mean it's the most efficient thing.
100%.
And so I'm with you. So there was a day, so my routine, because everyone's supposed to have these cool morning routines now. Mm-hmm. So I used to get up at 4:30. I'd start the coffee. I'd meditate for 10 minutes, like listen to a guided meditation. I'll do push-ups after that just to get my heart moving. Read 10 pages of a book. There's this one pager like on stoicism that I would read, like the Daily Stoic. I'd read that, whatever that page was for the day. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'll go get to work. But to your point, dude, there was one day I was like trying to do my little guided meditation thing. And I had a speaking engagement coming up. And I had this idea and I was like, I can't wait to work on this after I'm done with this meditation. And I couldn't get it out of my head. And I started to get pissed off. And I'm like, dude, focus. And I was like, if your brain is telling you like you're excited about this thing right now, go do the thing that's making you excited. Yeah. And you just because you set down on a piece of paper, you would do it in this order. Yeah. Like if you feel inspired, go do the thing that is inspiring you. Yeah. And so that was my realization. Like what you said, it's like sometimes I'm just fired up to go do the job. And I think that says a lot. Like you truly are passionate about what you do. Yeah. This isn't, I got a job because I need to pay bills. It's I want to help people.
Well, let me tell you. So, like in full transparency, before COVID, so I was fired 2 times in 2 years: COVID and then this recession that they called last year, right? Okay. So, like that really put us like, damn, that's crazy. 2 times in 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. So while I was studying to become a realtor during COVID, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was like, I'm waking up, I'm feeling terrible. Like I got no consistent income, or it's, the state income. And like, what do I do? Like I'm still young, but I got 2 kids now, right? Or a kid at that time. And so I was like finding ways, and I just kept saying, TikTok, you should wake up at 4:30. What are you doing? You should meditate. You should do this. So I did that for like a solid year. Like throughout the whole studying, throughout the passing the exam, I would wake up at 4:30. I'd work out first, take care of my mental health. And then I'd like guided meditation. I'd say my affirmations out loud, and then I'd go have coffee, and then I'd start my day. That was great. Yeah. That was honestly, I felt amazing. I felt that I took care of myself before, because now I know I could finish my work in 4 hours, still done by 12. Yep. I can focus on the kids because the kids need my attention. So I felt great. Mm-hmm. Getting into this busy realtor life, it's like my mind won't shut up about, oh, I got this client I need to help, or I just want to hurry up and get this client there once, or maybe there's other stuff I can be doing instead of meditating at 4:30 a.m. Maybe I can actually just complete my work at 4:30. Kids get off school at 12, and now I can spend time working with them. I felt a lot of guilt, like holding myself to this standard that only worked on certain days, if that makes any sense. It was like, okay, this worked for a short period of time, but now my kids are up in the middle of the night 4 times a night. So I only have 2 hours of sleep. Why am I going to wake up at 4:30 and then be cranky the whole day and not be a good dad?
And lack of sleep's really bad for you.
So, really bad.
So on the days, that's another thing I pay attention to now is if I, for whatever reason, don't go to sleep till 10 or 11, I'm not getting up at 4.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get my 7 hours because I realized how critical that is to having everything else fall into place. Yeah. And so how old are your kids right now?
Son is 4, daughter is 2. Okay. And right now they're in the hard transitioning. When I stopped waking up at 4:30 was putting them in the same room, because one wakes up, other one's going to wake up. Now they're both up. Now one goes to sleep. So that's, 5 hours throughout the night of trying to get them on the same page. Still kind of happens. My son will just sleep through her for crying for an hour, but she's kind of the problem right now. Yeah.
But that's a hard part. That's just a phase of life, right? That you go through. But I will say, I'm going to send you this podcast, or not, it's not even a podcast, a little YouTube clip I saw by this guy, like big marathon runner, like does all the long distance stuff. And he did this thing about how his mind is always on. And that's why the morning routine is so important, to like create balance of you're kind of teaching your mind that even though you're fired up on these things, I think it's not going to be perfect, right?
No, like, I agree.
think if you feel inspired, you feel inspired. But for me, my little guy, he's 6 now. He gets up at 6:30 on the clockwork. That's like our time. So I like getting started at 4:30, get the like detail driven work I have to get done. And it's not always done, but then at 6:30, I want to be present with him and hang out and watch a YouTube video if he wants to watch a YouTube video or whatever. So I think, as you grow a family, become parents, like your priorities shift. But I love that you're super self-aware of like where you're putting your time and effort. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't do that. They just freak out and go. And I was that guy with my oldest son. I was, the guy that work was all that mattered. And if you got in the way of me working, I was like passive aggressive and angry. Yeah. And I was like, damn, when we were moving, I found we used to have these like videos were on these little high 8 tapes, right? So I was like watching videos, just going through the shoebox, but when we were going to move, and I see this one, and we're walking him to school, and my wife's filming, and he's like holding my hand, and you could just tell how nervous he was for his first day of school. And then he says something to me, and my response was like, I was annoyed to be there. And like, dude, I got all choked up. I was like, holy, that was me as a dad to him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never going to be like that again. And that's where I try to be like as focused on.
And you go back and forth too. And I was talking to my wife about this literally 2 nights ago, about how like it's challenging for us to in the business we're in, it's challenging to find time to separate, right? Whether it's your marriage, whether it's your kids, or whether it's even your personal time, because I can call you if we are working on a client, I might call you at 8. PM. And be like, hey man, like I just need an update so I can sleep at night. Like, you know what I mean? And I would want you to answer, right? But like not every person is going to do that. And you might be in family time or something, but I think it's a huge balance. I was telling my wife, like, we are balancing marriage, new kids, work, career changes, because we've both changed careers in the last 5 years by like 3 times. Right. So like we're balancing all and grief, death in the family. So like there's a bunch of stuff we're dealing with. And it's okay to not have it all figured out is the point. Right.
And you never will. No one has it all figured out. Like didn't like Jeff Bezos getting divorced? Like all these guys that have life figured out and they don't.
Elon Musk has like 12 kids. Like
I mean, no one has it figured out, and it's just everyone's life's going to be different, and what one person wants is going to be very different than another. Neither person is right or wrong. No. It's just we're all supposed to like whatever you're supposed to enjoy this ride while you're here.
Yeah. Well, I think what is right though is always self-realization, which is what you just went through when watching those tapes. I did the same thing during COVID when I was waking up at 4:30, and then my son would ask me a question, in the morning or like at 12, and I answer snappy because I'm tired already, right? And I didn't like that. And even sometimes I still do it, and I have to catch myself. Or I have to, before I even answer, I just have to breathe real quick and be like, all right, cool, right. Because they don't understand. They don't know what work is, right? Like they just daddy. And so you have to be there for them, for your wife, and just anybody. I think that's very important. But I do want to shift topics to kind of talking a little bit more about the lending side of things. What are the pros and cons of VA loans to you? And I want you to really talk about like mention the cons too. Like I'm sure there's some, because there's some to any 5-6 arm, right? There's cons to anything. But yeah, can you look at the camera and do it?
Yeah. So with the VA loan, I mean, I guess one of the biggest cons is not available to everyone. Right. You have to have served in the military. If you're in the National Guard or the reserves, you have to been active. You have to have been in for at least 6 years to be eligible for the benefit.
So wow, 6! I didn't know.
If you're in the reserves, but once you go active duty for at least 6 months, you can get it. But so that I'd say that's the con. It's not available to everyone. It is the best loan in America. It really is. It's got a lower interest rate. The qualifications are easier. Credit score matters, but not as much, right? You don't get this massive differential in interest rate if you have a 620 score versus a 720 score, like you would with a conventional loan. It qualifies better. I'd say a con is if you're engaged or you're going to buy a house with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, you can't do 0 down, right? So one of the biggest benefits of the VA loan is you can do no money down.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the way it works is the VA guarantees part of the loan. I won't go like too technical on it, but they guarantee part of the loan. And if one person it's an unmarried couple, you have to put 12.5% down because they guarantee 25%. I think part of that
12.5%. That's a lot.
It can be. So that's where I'll look when I'm helping people with that. Here's the pros and cons. And then it's like, well, does the veteran qualify on their own? And if they do, cool. Just don't go on the loan together. Do 0 down. You can both go on title, go on the contract together, still own it together. And that's what we analyze. Like when we're going through it. So if somebody fills out a loan application, we don't just go, okay, here's what you asked for and here's what you get. Yeah. It's like, hey, you requested this, but here's maybe a better way to do it. I can't tell you if it's a good way to do it or not. I'm just going to present it to you and you decide. But that's one of the big ones. Because I think this day and age, I think people are either getting married later in life or not getting married at all. right? Like I have a bunch of friends that have kids and stuff, and then they're not married.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the con, but really, I guess the biggest con is it's hard to get it accepted. And that's where it comes down to the real estate agent side.
It's been a lot easier lately, I'd say.
Yeah, because people are getting to know it. And I really think it comes down to you.
Yeah.
The realtor that is willing to go to work to help veterans or service members, that's what makes the difference.
Yeah.
I've talked to realtors. Well, they'll just roll their eyes. Like you can hear it on the phone. Like you can kind of hear their eyes roll.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on a sec. Like, give me a minute. Right. So, and I guess one of the other cons is the VA loan requires that you do a termite inspection, and the termite inspection has to have items that they call Section 1 repairs done. So that would be active infestation for like wood boring beetles or termites, dry rot, health and safety issues, things like that. So those repairs have to be completed before you can close, where you don't have to do that on a conventional loan.
However, didn't they just recently change that to make that form?
So the form's always been there.
Oh, okay.
So
was there any change in like no? What? All right.
COVID there was. During COVID there was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that change?
So during COVID, we didn't want anyone in anyone's houses, right? During COVID, they said, "Hey, veteran, you have time after you close to prove that these repairs were completed." And I thought that was the best. I was hoping they would just leave that in place.
What happens if they don't?
Well, we would have to certify it. So what we would do back during COVID. So let's say that the Section 1 items were $15,000, right? So they would hold $15,000 in escrow. The veteran would have 90 days to make those repairs, and then the money would be paid through the title company, right? And if the repairs ended up costing 9 instead of 15, then once the repairs are done, everything's signed off, the veteran gets their $6,000 back. So I love that, and I really wish it stayed in place.
Yeah.
Because there were cool, like during COVID, man, there was some good policy changes, I'd say, on the real estate side and the mortgage side that I was like, we're going to learn from this, right? This is good, man, glad this happened, because otherwise none of these changes would have happened. And then both industries just went back to what they've always done.
Yeah.
But
they're both very old industries.
Yeah. So with the California specifically, a lot of times the listing agent will have already done the inspection reports, right? And they give us what is called the disclosures, right? In the disclosures, they'll have the report in there, and then it'll show all these Section 1 items listed out, and then it'll give a total of how much that would cost to fix it from the inspector. Well, we don't need that report. We just need to provide the VA with their form. It's called the NPMA 33. If anyone is watching this and you're a service member or veteran, just Google NPMA 33, and you'll get the PDF of that form. That's all that's needed. So instead of going through those disclosures, we can just get that form completed, because the VA just wants to know that there's no active infestation and there's no health and safety issues. And a lot of times inspectors will mark things as Section 1 repairs that aren't relevant to what the VA is looking for. So to me, it's like...
Has an inspector ever refused to fill out that form?
Once. I've only had one once. Yeah, once.
What do you do in that situation? Do you just use the...
We use the regular one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was another option. That's crazy. What was that reason?
He put some legal language in it saying that in California it doesn't meet this or that.
Wait, was that ours? Ours emailed about it.
It was yours.
It was ours.
Was it?
Yeah, no, it was. I have the email.
That's right. It was ours.
That is so funny.
That's the only one.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, because I was just going to say it happened recently.
Yeah. No, that was ours. He did. And I was confused because I was like, wait, what? Like, yeah.
He cited some code, right?
Yeah.
Which I'd never heard before. And again, okay, great. If you're not comfortable with this, then don't do it. Yeah. And then the one in the full one that
Thank
was
God
in the
there was $0 in Section 1. But
yeah, but I've had times where, I remember one deal I had, there was $13,000 in Section 1 repairs to be done. The buyer wrote into the contract, buyer will pay all Section 1 for all Section 1 repairs. Seller's like, cool, I'm not losing any money. I don't have to pay for it. I just got to let the guy into the house to do the repairs. Yeah, no problem. That's the biggest thing. One of the biggest misconceptions with VA loans is that the seller has to pay for these repairs. Yeah. They don't. Yeah. It can be negotiated. Yeah. You can ask them to, but it's not required. Yeah. And you can ask on any contract, whether it's VA or not, you can ask for things to be paid for. I have one right now that will hopefully get accepted today. That's a conventional loan. And there were Section 1 items noted on their termite report. And so they wrote into the contract, seller to pay for Section 1 repairs.
Yeah.
Now that it's in the contract, I have to see that report because I know it exists, right? Disclosures typically aren't, they're not made readily available to lenders.
Yeah.
And so we don't go searching for them, but once something's disclosed to us, we have to ask questions.
Yeah.
And so they wrote that up, I was like, everyone understands that I now have to get, like, this is going to have to happen before we close because we can't make the loan otherwise.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, cool, let's go. So it's just, making sure people communicate well. You know?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about our deal.
Yeah.
So we had a deal, VA girl. She came in and I introduced you to her. It's funny to talk about this because initially, remember, she backed off a little bit because of the market. So when I first introduced her to Sean, she, it was a change in the market. No fault to the buyers or anything. It was just the market was being really weird. Interest rates were skyrocketing, and it was a scary time. You don't know what's happening. It was maybe summer, I want to say, summer. And she had just moved here. She was maybe like a month too fresh from a different state. So she was figuring things out, figuring out the areas, and it was overwhelming. Yeah. As it should be. And so when I initially introduced them, they went through the process, and then I was like, okay, we got this pre-approval. Here are the steps we need to take. We would tour a lot of homes together. And then one day she was just, was very transparent, which I love from buyers, is being transparent. It's just, hey, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now with what's happening in the market. I just moved here. I'm not quite sure I want to buy yet. Right? Totally fine. Yep. I'd rather that than you ghost me or you were flirting, every day trying to, who's going to answer first? Like, I like that. And so I was like, oh, no problem. Like, here's why I think you should buy now and take advantage of your VA loan. Here's, why you might not want to buy. I'll presented with both options via text message. It's still in my text message. Here's what I think interest rates will do in the next 3 months. Here are the Fed meetings. I sent her the Fed meetings, circled them, and said, look out for these days. And here's when the interest rates will rise. Yeah. And they did. Same days. And she texted me on the second interest rate rise and said, hey, you were right. I want to hurry up and get this done. And I was like, it's game time. Called you up immediately and was like, hey, she just gave me the green light. I'm going to reconnect you guys. Let's reconfigure her loan and make sure we get her a home as soon as possible. And I think it took about like a month to actually find her one.
Yeah, and it was because I remember that was on a Saturday, and it was like it was fast and furious all of a sudden, right? Yeah. And I was like, dude, I just talked to her 2 days ago, and she didn't want anything to do with it, and all of a sudden she does, and then she was active, and that's what I think is so cool about it is, one, like again, I say I do 4th grade math and psychology. She was far more comfortable with you than with me because she built that trust early on, right? And when that stuff happens, it's not for me to, like, if that's your comfort, that's your comfort. It's not my place to overcome that.
Don't overstep it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, I'm just here. I'm going to help you as much as you need me to help you. But she had like so much trust with you that I thought was really cool. Yeah. And then when we would connect, she was awesome. But she was always, you would ask me questions on her behalf. Right. And so you just fill people out and see what they want to do. And then I think we were kind of at the upper limit of her monthly payment. Right. And again, we're not trying to force anyone to buy a house. You and I are like, look, this is where it's going to be. Is this comfortable? Where is your comfort zone? And we adjusted our buyer's guide website to find that. I think we ratcheted back a little bit. Yep. And
she was approved for a lot more than what we actually got her. Almost $100,000 difference. Yeah. Yeah. Because HOA and condos, they have HOA, which deducts your total purchase price.
Yeah. And it was just like, all things considered, does this feel good? And then she's like, yeah. And it's like, as soon as you have that confidence of, okay, I totally understand exactly where my monthly payment is. I totally understand exactly how much money I have to use out of pocket. She was ready to go. And that's how most people are. It's the uncertainty that makes people more hesitant, right? Yeah. And I think once you find a place you like, the more confident you are with the way you make your offer, the better. Yeah. Right? Because the seller can feel that. It's like, hey, this thing's going to stick. I don't want anyone to ever buy a house and be like, get into contract on a house and be like, man, I hope this turns out the way the lender said it would. And then it's more expensive. Yeah. That's the worst feeling on the planet.
Absolutely. No, and it was really cool with this story because we got her a W, like probably one of the biggest W's in my career. I'm sure you've been in the business for a long time, so you probably had some big ones. But it felt good to me just helping her, especially because the mind shift in just the 3 months or 2 months that we didn't talk. And where I told her, hey, just study the market and get back to me and let me know. You know what I mean?
Which is not what most would do. Most would. One guy, one time I was in an office and the realtor's like, hey, how do I convince this guy to sell his house? I'm like, you don't convince anyone to do anything.
No.
The dude doesn't want to sell his house. Don't sell it. Like, don't force it on him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to convince him to do that. That's the wrong approach. Your approach of, I'm just here to help you. Like, I want to serve. Let me know how I can help is the best approach.
Yeah. It's like, you know, realtors probably shouldn't say this, but that commission is small compared to the deals I've been doing. Yeah. Like, it's a condo. You know what I mean? Like, I truly was in it to just help her. Yeah. She came here by herself, had no friends here. So I was just like, oh man, like this, I respect her. She already owns a home in a different state. Like, she's smart. She went to the Navy to get her student loans paid for. This girl is smart. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I really respected her and I was just like, I want to help her. Yeah. But I think we got a really good deal, and I'll talk a little bit about the deal. I've already spoken on it. But we ended up getting a condo in a really good area, walkable to everything, which she has no car, so this is perfect for her. Saves her a lot of cost. Really good area, centrally located, and then we got a really good deal. So the home was actually appraised for $10,000 over what I submitted for, and I knew that off the bat because if you have a realtor who does good comps, you know the homes in that area were $15,000 on average over, and so the 290 came back when the market took a turn and interest rates rose, which would drop prices a little bit lower. So I prepared for that. And yeah, we went $10,000 under the appraisal. We asked for $15,000 in seller credits, which is kind of uncanny. Like, that's a lot to ask for. We got $15,000 for this client, which is crazy. I mean, the first thing the listing agent said was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "No, yeah." and reason being was because HOA had some type of, they needed updating on plumbing next year. And so no, but it's already in the demands. So I was like, I wanted her to be prepared for that. Another reason was because we were at the stretch of her budget. I didn't like that. Right. So I wanted her to have comfortability. So instead of asking for just the amount she needed to cover that plumbing, I asked for way more. That way she has pocket money to kind of go through those hard times of figuring out, oh, I'm stretching my budget, but I have a cushion, right? She didn't have to come out of anything at the closing table. And in fact, what I was talking about when she called me and was confused on her notary signing day, she called me and was like, hey, like, it says I have to pay like $611 and I wasn't prepared for that. And like, what do I do? Like, it won't be there till Friday. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I looked at the thing quickly. I was like, it says due to buyer. Like, I got you $611 in your pocket. Like, and she's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, I told you I got you. I was like, I got you paid to get this home, way undervalued, and you have money left over because that 611 was not even the full 15,000. And I want to talk about this with you because you taught me something who I then this morning text a VA client who I've introduced you to as well, saying, hey, I just learned something new. And here's what I'd love to do if you give me the opportunity to be your realtor. Because 2 weeks ago, they said, hey, I'm going to use another realtor. And I said, why? Said, no reason. You're great. I just want to use someone else. Okay. Well, let me give you some facts that they probably don't know. So when we learned this, I literally texted him this morning. He was like, you're a good man. I was like, oh yeah, I'll keep being a good man. So let's talk about this 4% thing. If you can kind of go, why was my client able to get $600 back at the table plus her credit card debt pay down?
So I want to say a couple things before we get into that, because I want people to grasp what you did on this deal. Because let's just, it was 290 was our price. Let's call it 300. Just use a round number.
It was 280. Okay. Praise that 290.
So let's call it 300 because simple math.
Got you.
So $300,000. If you got a $15,000 seller credit, $15,000 is $15,000, right? On $1 million home, 15,000 is 15,000.
Yep.
You got her a credit of 5% of the value of the home, of the price. That's a big deal.
That's huge.
Right? 15,000, 5%.
It's like a down payment.
Dude. And then it appraised 10,000 more than the price you negotiated for her.
Yeah.
So that's effectively $25,000. I don't want to call it free money, but in equity, right? That's a big deal. The reason she got a refund at closing, this only happens on VA loans, is, traditionally the earnest money deposit is going to be 3%. I know we did less than that, but traditionally, right? So if a veteran's doing 0 down, they put their 3% deposit in, they'll pay their closing costs, and they're going to get whatever the closing costs were of that 3% back, right? So the only people that get money back, but it's their own money, because you can't get the seller's money back at closing. The credits cannot exceed the closing costs, which it did on this deal. So Juan calls me at the last minute. We're going through it on the day of closing. I thought everything was done. And he was asking me these questions. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And I looked into it, and they're like, oh, well, the credit exceeds the closing costs. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to leave the seller's money on the table. And
I said the same thing. I was like,
I'm like, what are we going to do with the rest of it? Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to close in like 12 hours or less. Like the loan's already been funded at this point. So we're just waiting for the record to go on the next day. So I was like, no, we got to fix this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're like, no, it's fine. The seller will just keep the difference. I'm like, no. He didn't negotiate a $15,000 credit to only get 11.
Yeah.
Like, we want that money. And so with VA loans, this is the only loan that you can do this with that I am aware of. The seller's funds can be used to pay off your debt, right? So we start looking at it going, okay, how do we use up this $4,000 that we didn't account for, that just ended up being left on this table? And we went through a credit report. We can get rid of some debt. We worked it out, but I was getting pushback from underwriting because on a VA loan, the max seller credit is 4% of the purchase price towards closing costs. So they're like, Sean, you can't pay off any debt because you're already at the 4% limit. And I was like, no. It's two separate limits. You have 4% for closing costs, and then 4%. This is how the VA guidelines read: to buy the buyer a TV. Like, it literally says that in the guide as an example. Pay off debts, anything like that. It's like, it's two separate limits. And they're like, well, we already funded the loan. I'm like, I don't care. Send an extra wire for the difference. Like, we're using up this money.
Yeah.
And that's what we ended up doing. Is and it's funny to me because sometimes I know more than the underwriters know, right? And I think that's my job. Is you and I want to do the best we can for everyone we serve. Yeah. I'm not going to leave money that you negotiated for her benefit on the table. So she got her house. She got her money back, right? It wasn't the seller's, but money back in her pocket. She didn't have any closing costs because her credit covered that. And she's now debt-free outside of having a mortgage. Dude, that's such an epic story.
Which she already had an expensive rent because she was in San Francisco.
Yeah,
so
and it's her second house.
Second house.
She has an investment property on the East Coast. I think it's in Ohio. Investment property there. She put 0 down on that house using her VA benefit. And then she got to do 0 down on this house using her VA benefit. And she has her benefit on 2 houses at the same time, which a lot of people don't know you can do.
And I didn't know because I called you out on. I was like, wait, what? I thought we had to sell it or refinance it. And then even throughout the process, you were like, no, I just found this out because of this California rule, right? That essentially, I don't know, you could probably explain it better, but you said up to $1 million is pretty much what California allows, at least from my understanding. But when people buy in California, traditionally, they're going to buy like $1 million home, right?
Yeah. So
explain it a little better.
It's super, it's very complicated. There's a calculation or a formula that the VA has for your second use.
There you go. Yeah.
And so on your first use of your VA benefit, there's no limit to the loan amount. You could buy a $5 million house with 0 down, right? Okay. The VA would allow that. Not that anybody would, but just to use a big exaggeration. If you do that, if you want to use it for a second time, there's no more entitlement. You've used up your benefit, right? Well, because she bought a home, a lower price home somewhere else, and the loan limits in our area currently are $1,089,000, right? In 2023, in the Bay Area counties, the maximum loan amount's $1,089,000. Off of that calculation, we can figure out something. So her benefit had leftover entitlement utilization that we used to where she got to put 0 down on both homes.
Yeah, that's
it works. But if people are leaving California, like I own $1 million home I bought with 0 down in California, and I'm going to go buy something in North Carolina for $300,000. Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't. Yeah,
because you go out there, the loan amount limits are lower, and you've already used up the full entitlement here.
Yeah.
But people coming in,
Yeah.
It works really well.
Which now I know though, and now I can pitch that and see. That's why like a good realtor and lender connection is really good, because even through this interaction, we both learned stuff.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you were 2 hours before closing fighting your own team, your own company. You could have just been like, we'll get it on the next one.
I could have told
it's not the next
I
one.
could have just said to you and her, you guys wouldn't have known any different. I could have said to both of you guys, yeah, this is just the way it goes, unfortunately.
Very true.
And you guys would have been like, shoot, is what it is.
Very, very true.
Right?
And then I would have got the backlash because I put 15 on the contract and she was expecting some extra money back, right?
Yep.
Even though she didn't even know. She didn't bring it up.
That's what I'm saying. She would have been like, oh, it is what it is.
I contacted you before even like mentioning it to her.
And that's where, and that would have been the easier way to go, right? I remember I was at a broker tour when we were doing that, and I was just on the phone with the VA. I'm like, did something change that I'm not aware of? It's 4 and 4. And right. And they're like, yeah, you're right. I was like, okay, cool. I just wanted to double check. I was cut and pasting the guidelines from the VA site, sending it to the underwriter. Well, we already funded the loan. Yeah, Sean, you're right, but we already closed the loan. I don't care. Send in a little extra money for the difference.
Yeah.
It's worthwhile. It's time well spent.
Because it comes back in tenfold for you.
Dude,
like now she's like,
and it's fun.
Sean and Jawan just helped me out. If my friend is looking for something, I'm going to them.
Yep.
So now your company gets it and you get it, and it's a win-win for everyone. But most importantly, like, you feel good because you made that client feel good. Like, that client got a huge W. Like, the seller lost. Not lost, but you know what I mean? Like,
and you negotiated well on behalf of your client.
Yes.
You could have offered their ask price and said it was a VA loan and never asked for a credit or done anything else and been done. And it probably would have gotten accepted, right? So I just think that story is really good. And to your point, every person we help, they're going to tell their home buying story.
Absolutely.
It's either going to be a good story or a bad story. There's never anything in between.
Yeah.
I'm only as good. I want everyone to refer me, right? Yeah. I want everyone to go, you've got to use my guy, Sean.
Yeah.
They're not going to say that if I don't do everything I can for him.
I agree, you guys. You should use Sean. He's a great guy. And also your marketing is brilliant, man. Like the red shirt and every video that you talk about VA is brilliant marketing. He's on social media a lot. We're gonna wrap it up, but what kind of made you get into that social media world as much? And like, why is video so important for you?
Well, one, I got used to it. Everyone hates video. I don't like how I look. Don't like how I sound. We all start there, right? But I got over that quickly, and now I just like getting to share. Like we can share with thousands of people really quickly. Yeah. And we didn't have that opportunity. Again, I've been doing this 22 years. We didn't use email when I started. It was fax machines still.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so
dude, you look good for your age. I don't know what your age is, but
I'm 42. I'm 42.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, it was a way to share, and it started off just like, look, I'm doing cool stuff, and then it became, man, I'm an like emotional, outspoken dude. So I'm just like, oh, I'm just so excited that I just helped this person and here's the story. Or I'm really frustrated that this happened to this person and here's the story. It just became like a really authentic way to share.
And I love it. And that's kind of why I even started the Misguided podcast, is because I like sharing the stories. I'm glad we were able to share our story together. We're going to have plenty of more. I'm very excited for what the future holds. Go ahead and look into the camera. Let them know where they can find you, because your social media is really dope.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, so Sean Herrero, I'm on Instagram primarily. That's my spot, at Adventure Lender.
You got TikTok too, right?
I do. I just post there. I don't really look there much.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm like addicted to TikTok.
So that's why I'm not using it, because everyone says how addicting it is. So I'm like staying off of it.
It's bad. Like there'll be times when me and my wife be on the couch like this and we're just like, but it's cool. That's our bonding time. We'll send each other videos. Like, you know what I mean? But you guys started here. This is the Misguided Podcast. We intend to guide you to a better future. My name's Juwan, sitting here with Sean Herrero. Make sure you guys follow, like, and subscribe to this video. And if you're going to pick a lender, choose wisely. See you on the other side.